Welcome to another Revenue Roundtable. I'm Mitch Lee, Profit Evangelist at Vendavo. We're going to have about 9 minutes discussing what's topical in business news, what's top of mind for the Vendavo customer community, and what are tips, tricks, and capabilities to turn concerns into opportunities. With me today, Matt Jenkins, Vendavo's VP for Customer Strategy, and David Anderson, one of Vendavo's business consultants in North America. Hi, guys. How's it going today?
It's going great. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Today, we're going to focus on a specific industry vertical, equipment rental. Now, both Matt and Dave have deep experience here, and much like the aftermarket business unit models that we talk about quite often, equipment rental is literally a mix of products and services. And while we've all likely had personal experience renting cars, there are big differences in B2B space. So Matt, let's lead off with you. How is equipment rental pricing different than day car rental or cruise lines or airline pricing?
Great question. The biggest difference between those two is what I call time constraints. I'm going to keep this fairly simple, but with an airline or a cruise or an apartment rental or even a car rental, you know when that rental is going to end or when that flight's going to end. And so when you're trying to maximize the revenue, for example, of an airplane, it's better for you to fill that empty seat with any price, the Southwest $49 one-way fare, than it is to let it go. Now with equipment rental, it's a bit different. There isn't an end date when you rent a piece of equipment. And while you might have a lot of pieces of equipment on the yard, renting something at a low price just to get it on rent or utilized can come back to backfire you. And let me give you a quick example of that. In the airline industry, if you offered the $49 one-way ticket to somebody, but they could have that ticket every Friday on the 2 o'clock flight, you might not want to offer them that ticket. Another example of that in the equipment rental industry is, let's say you're at a big job site, you're building a new stadium in Las Vegas for the Raiders, and you want to get new business with one of the contractors there. And so you offer them a gator, which is a fancy way of a construction side-by-side, right? And you want to give them a $200 a month rental because you just want to get in with them. And you have a lot on the yard. The problem is they could keep that gator for 3 years. You're only collecting $200 a month or $20 or $400 a year. It has a lifespan of 3 years and you've lost your money.
That mistake sticks with you for a long time. It's not a perishable good like the other side. Let's compare. We talked a bit about B2C versus B2B. Compare retail versus negotiated, long contract rentals and the difference you might see in pricing dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, you really hit the nail on the head there. It's kind of interesting. I mean, in equipment rental business, of course, you've got, the mom and pop rentals, right? You've got folks that might just walk up and rent a piece of equipment for a short term because they're working on some project at their house. But when you look at the majority of the business for most of these players, it's actually a sold business. You've got salespeople who are out there negotiating price with contractors who are running projects, and that negotiated aspect of equipment rental is actually a really important dynamic in the pricing decisions that are made. So whenever I talk to these guys, these companies, I think there's this, I wouldn't call it an obsession, but there's definitely a lot of discussion around elasticity, which is this, kind of concept everyone learns in high school around this notion that, oh, if I price lower, there's going to be a lot more demand for my product. And, in a negotiated selling environment, there may be a natural price sensitivity in the market, but it's far outweighed by any effect your salesperson actually has as to how they negotiate, how they interpret the context of the particular situation they're addressing. So, you see it all the time. You see all this effort that goes into trying to measure that price volume relationship when, really all of that effort should be focused on, how the sales team approaches that negotiation, the information they have for those negotiations, and the decisions that they ultimately make. Because, if you really step back, it's about moving that curve, if it exists,
right,
with those selling and marketing efforts, which, is not something that necessarily you see in a retail pricing scenario.
Absolutely. Yeah, that derived demand, the example I used to use is the price of the plastic that goes on the taillight for the Ford pickup. Dropping that 10% does not mean you're going to sell 10% more Ford pickups.
Right. Yeah, remote selling versus really understanding what does that potential customer value in what you have to provide. A lot of times price is just one piece of the picture. And any good seller obviously knows how to tap into an understanding of that value to try and capture more of it in a negotiation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we want to help folks get the discussion off of pricing into value. Absolutely. All right. Another one for you, Matt. How would you think about optimizing pricing or margins in the equipment rental business? What are ways you might think about making that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. In the rental industry, it's not really possible to optimize margin because there's not a real cost per rental, whether you're renting per day, per week, per month. What you really want to focus on is from knowing whether a piece of equipment is a valuable piece of equipment from you is what I call the return on the investment, and even more important on that, what you can optimize is the on rent return on investment, which is the price you're getting for that piece of equipment when it's being utilized. You want to increase that on rent ROI so that you can increase your overall ROI, and so. There's really two streams of businesses, on the B2B side of, commercial equipment rental. There's the contracted business, your strategic accounts. And typically when you're going in there, you're going to have to be, you're going to use a market basket of goods. If it's a dirt moving company, you're going to focus on being very competitive in the earth moving businesses, right? And maybe not so much on the aerial side of the house, but you're going to go in there and be really competitive on a market-based set of products to kind of get a contracted rates there. And then you can be a little bit more strategic on some of the one-off rentals, right? You don't want to give them everything a high price. On the other side, where I'd see there's more, guided selling ability would be on the spot pricing. And for most companies, it's probably 50-50, maybe 40-60. And that's salespeople like Dave talked about going out into the marketplace, getting leads of where construction starts are at. Maybe they're building a new Jack in the Box on the corner of 57 and 100th, right? The salesman goes out there and sees that, hey, they're just pouring the foundation on this. Maybe I can get some equipment rental there, a scissor lift for when they start building the electrical and stuff like that. And they go out there, and that's where you need to understand and have a little bit of help on what is the right price to charge that customer. And it can be influenced by, to some degree, about how much you have available, but also it's going to be influenced by what type of contractor is. Is it a small contractor or a big contractor? What region it's in? There's a difference. The seasons of Texas are different than the seasons of Minnesota, right? And so you can take all of that into fact, but the reality is they have lots of data. That data can be utilized by AI and can help provide guided selling on the spot market.
Sure. You look around and see how many cranes are going up. That's going to be an indication there's a lot of demand for construction equipment. So maybe you might feed that into your pricing consideration. Then actually that data is available in your system.
It's the small things. It's delivery. It's
right.
All other things being equal. If you're working a piece of equipment, you want a new piece of equipment that's nice and air conditioned. If you're like in a, let's say, an enclosed backhoe with air conditioning, I mean, those type of things matter, right? And you can use that and you can price differentiate on those things. If you have 3 backhoes in the yard and they're going for, real low price, you say, okay, I can give you the open cab because, I want to save the air conditioned closed cab for somebody who's willing to pay more for it.
Fantastic. Yep. Guys, thanks so much.
Another big piece of it though, Mitch, is really just, actually being able to implement price changes when you want to. You think of like a hurricane or like major weather event, having a system that will kind of automatically take prices, up in circumstances where there's high demand, that's unusual. That's a huge advantage over, really trying to scramble around trying to get prices adjusted in that type of situation.
Absolutely. Dave, Matt, thanks so much for joining. Great to talk with you today.
Great to talk with you as well.
Yep. Thanks, Mitch.
And you bet. And for all those watching or listening, thanks for being with us today. Be sure to contact us at profit@vendavo.com to let us know if you have any topics you'd like for us to address on the next Revenue Roundtable. So until we speak again, have a profitable day.